Christmas ornaments, drywall, and Epstein. Name 3 things that don't hang themselves.
Bada boom! Senator John Kennedy on the Jeffrey Epstein fact. You know, Jeffrey Epstein was a lifelong activist, a Democrat donor, a Democrat hanger-on. And before Donald Trump got into politics, he was in good with all the Democrats. And now, Jimi Hendrix. And a very happy Friday to you. Yes, the news media obsession with Jeffrey Epstein, only as Jeffrey Epstein relates to Donald Trump, not to any of the great many Democrats who were, in his pants and in his sleeping bag and on his island and on his plane and in his big mansion in New York and on it goes. Yeah, the news media very, very obsessed. I went and did a little bit of gathering last night and this morning because of the crazy obsession that the Democrats and the news media, but I repeat myself, have with Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein. Earlier this week, Democrats in the House of Representatives, the Oversight Committee, they picked through 22,000 or 23,000 Jeffrey Epstein emails that they call the Epstein documents. And they selected apparently 2 emails out of nearly 23,000 emails because Donald Trump's name had been mentioned, and they redacted them nearly to death. And then they gave them to the filthy corruptniks in the New York Times, who are, I think, a living representation of the Soviet Union. But we've got that going. And then the New York Times, the rest of the news media, they went, oh, look, Trump's name appears in an email. And it's about Epstein. And never mind that. That's no big deal. But, MSLSD, MS-13, they're still going to town over Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein. And, oh, here's a picture. And it's Jeffrey Epstein. And Donald Trump's there, too. Well, here's a picture of Bill Clinton and Jeffrey Epstein in Bill Clinton's White House with Jeffrey Epstein. And it's a White House that Jeffrey Epstein visited 17 times. All 17 times Bill Clinton was living in the White House. Wonder if there's anything going on there. And Ghislaine Maxwell came along with Jeffrey Epstein to visit Bill Clinton in the White House again and again, wondering if anything went on in the, the side office off of the Oval Office, the president's private office, where needed a real good scrubbing by the time Bill Clinton left. Crazy stuff. And Bill Clinton, of course, flew, according to the flight logs, which had been investigated years ago and the news media forgot all about because their brains are malfunctioning each and every day. Bill Clinton flying on Lolita 1 26 times at least. And, it's an airborne beep house, and it's this and that. And Bill Clinton at least 26 times. And the news media, they want nothing to do with this story. In fact, I've got something on that coming up. So let me get to some audio, because the Democrat Party's obsession, and that means the American news media's obsession, release the Epstein docs. They really don't want that 23,000 pages or whatever it is. 99.8% will be Democrats, starting with Bill Clinton. And I don't know if you can go down from there, but it starts with Bill Clinton. And then let's round up all the Democrats and, he's not president now. He was when Epstein came to the White House 17 times, you creep. But never mind that. Just continue to prattle on out of both sides of your mouths simultaneously. Let's go to the news media on this. Nicole Wallace used to be she used to claim to be a Republican. Now she's an MS-13 DNC anchor girl, and she's treated like a doormat. But never mind that. Nicole Wallace, yesterday, because the news media is obsessing over Donald Trump and the Democrats on Capitol Hill, the Democrats at the New York Times, the Democrats at NBC Fake News, Nicole Wallace on the latest go-around of Womp Womp.
In exactly 12 months, Donald Trump has gone from completely dominating the political moment to being buried by it. Donald Trump today finding himself on the defensive when it comes to his administration's betrayal of a campaign pledge to release the Epstein files. Further complicating Trump's political peril, there are brand new questions about Trump's relationship with the deceased sex offender and trafficker Jeffrey Epstein. That is thanks to 23,000 pages, an avalanche of new information, and unstoppable momentum right now on Capitol Hill for legislation that would force the release of the files that Team Trump has tried so hard to keep hidden.
Jeffrey Epstein was probably a more honest person than Nicole Wallace and than her producers and writers at MS-13. Unstoppable momentum, really, 12 months ago, he owned the media landscape, and now he doesn't. Now he's being buried by it. 23,000 pages. The Democrats went through all of them. They paid other people, probably illegal aliens, to go through the 23,000 pages. And they released 2 pages, very, very, very heavily redacted pages. So you might have 3 or 4 words that are in line with one another that are a fraction of a sentence. And then the news media said, oh, good enough for us. We're a pack of hoes. Let's do this. Nicole Wallace, 12 months gone from dominating the political movement to being buried by it. Well, that's completely false. You're a lying sack of Julia, once again. He's on the defensive. No, he's not. When it comes to betrayal of a campaign pledge to release the Epstein files, well, the Democrats have the 23,000 pages. They haven't released them. Now, I do think that the Department of Justice or somebody should have released them all, but they do have these issues with naming the young women, and those have to be redacted, and their lawyers and their lawsuits, and money has changed hands, and all of that. But never mind that. This is the biggest lie ever told since the last biggest lie ever told by the American news media about Donald Trump and Russian collusion and the Hunter Biden laptop and the reporting from the New York Post that was all true and correct and accurate about the Hunter Biden laptop. And they lied and they lied and they lied. Nicole Wallace, they pay her to be a journalist. She was never a journalist at NBC Fake News.
Donald Trump barreling toward a major political reckoning amid brand new revelations from the estate of Jeffrey Epstein.
Barreling toward a major political reckoning. That's just not true, and you are a lying sack of Julia. And again, like George Stephanopoulos, who had no background in journalism at all, before ABC News hired him to become a multi-million-dollar a year ABC Fake News anchorman. Isn't that amazing? Just extraordinary. By the way, we were just talking about UC Berkeley and the riot there for the Turning Point USA event. You'll be surprised to learn that Nicole Wallace went to Berkeley. She went to UC Berkeley. What a shock. Isn't that astonishing? Isn't that amazing? Yes, sir. All right, let's go. Nicole Wallace, and this is what they're making up. CNN has a woman named Pamela Brown. And she is not a journalist. She is a Democrat. Barely has a command of the English language, but you know how these people are. They're quite extraordinary. And Pamela Brown, CNN Pamela Brown, was on there on CNN talking about, this is an email. This is what the Democrats took from 23,000 pages. They redacted a page or two nearly to death, just enough to leave the word Trump in there. Again, President Trump, we know, kicked the scumbag Democrat, Jeffrey Epstein, who was a Democrat and a Democrat Party activist and a Democrat Party donor and a Democrat Party stalwart, and gave his plane and his island to Democrats up the yin-yang. And the news media, that they have no memory, no recollection of anything that happened before this morning. And, in fact, most of this morning has passed by them, too. CNN's Pamela Brown. And I stand by just a second because, that's right. This is the Jasmine Crockett, the Democrat congresswoman, of course, who is mentally deranged, and she's insane. Now, Pamela Brown talking to Democrat Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett on the very heavily redacted and then released by the Democrats in the House Oversight Committee, leaving alone 22,998 pages and releasing 2 very heavily redacted pages because they know every other page has the story of a Democrat in there.
This is an email from April 2nd, 2011. Republicans were saying that victim is Virginia Giuffre. As you know, she died by suicide. She's been very outspoken, outspoken victim of Jeffrey Epstein. Here's the email right here on your screen. She wrote a book, as you know, and she did not accuse him of any wrongdoing. What do you make of that, and can you confirm that?
Yeah, I don't know. Obviously, it's redacted who the victim is, so I won't necessarily take the Republicans' word on who it is that's redacted. And I don't know why they would necessarily redact someone's name who is deceased at this point.
The Democrats did that, though. The Democrats redacted.
No. I understand, but I'm just saying, like, our biggest concern is to actually make sure that we are protecting victims. And obviously, she wrote a book.
Liar.
She told her truth.
She wrote, and also they both leave out the central fact. And the Democrats in the House of Representatives that released these very selective and very heavily redacted documents. They know that the woman that they're talking about, Virginia Giuffre, that she not only did she not say anything that would incriminate Trump, everything she said was that Trump was at the House once, but he didn't look for a massage. That's what they called it. The Democrats did, and was not there for the girls. And she actually, everything that she said, and she's not one of the heroes of the story, but Virginia Giuffre said that Trump and Jeffrey Epstein, and that Trump had no nefarious involvement with any of the Jeffrey Epstein, who was a Democrat, with any of the sexual stuff. And they just leave that out. Just leave that out. Isn't that great?
She wrote a book, as you know, and she did not accuse him of any wrongdoing. What do you make of that?
What do you make of that? And not only didn't accuse him of any wrongdoing, everything that she said exonerated or contributed to exonerating President Trump. But this creepy criminal Jasmine Crockett, dim-witted member of Congress, a Democrat, just amazing. And then if you are Pamela Brown and you're doing the interview, maybe you should have what Virginia Giuffre actually said in her book, because what she said would exonerate Donald Trump and would not incriminate Donald Trump. But never mind that. Yes, sir. He didn't partake in any sex with any of us, but he flirted with me. And that's as sinister as it got. Well, and then in court documents, that's right, she contradicted herself. She has the book, and there it is. And then the Democrats redacted her name because they're pretending that they're sensitive to her because she is one of the abused women, the Democrat Party. Jen Psaki. Then they go to another Democrat who was actually a Democrat White House spokesperson, kind of like George Stephanopoulos, who then gets a multi-million-dollar job from a television network. And Jen Psaki. And listen to this accidental slip-up. She's trying to lynch him like the Democrat Party clan that she's a member of. Jen Psaki.
You're talking about the other predators out there, in addition to Trump. I mean, I'm not saying he is. We don't know all the details about that.
I just mean
in addition to what we've learned
about
about Epstein and others,
about that.
There's other predators out there.
There are.
There are. Yeah, there are. And that might actually go with a couple of other stories that they will never talk about, having to do with Bill Clinton, for example, riding on Lolita 1, Jeffrey Epstein's creepy sex jet, underage girl sex jet, at least 26 times, Bill Clinton riding on Jeffrey Epstein's jet. They don't get into the fact that Jeffrey Epstein visited Bill Clinton at Bill Clinton's White House at the time 17 times. But that's not a part of the discussion, because when you're a Democrat, you know, you're a Democrat all the way, from your first cigarette to your last AIDS-ridden day. Isn't that amazing? You know, cooking on Thanksgiving is very high stakes, as you doubtless already know. It feels like one dried-out turkey can ruin the whole affair, the whole shebang, and that's because it can. That's why I love my Chef IQ Sense. This wireless cooking thermometer takes the guesswork out of holiday cooking. The USDA says that turkey has got to hit 165 degrees in order to be safe to eat. Your eyes can deceive, of course, but Chef IQ ensures that you hit that perfect temperature every time. And it couldn't be easier. You just insert the sensor, you tell the app what you're cooking, then you sit back and relax because Chef IQ Sense tells you when to flip, when to take off the heat, even how long to let it sit and rest on the counter before you start carving. No more oven peeking and sneaking around and trying to pretend you can tell by looking at it. No more dried out turkey, just perfectly cooked meals every time. And it works for everything, steaks, chicken, fish, whatever it is you're cooking. You're going to wonder how you ever cooked without it. Plus, it's the ultimate gift. Perfect for seasoned cooks, for kitchen rookies, for everyone in between, for that matter. And right now, you get 30% off the entire website with the code PLANT at chefiq.com. That's chefiq.com, and the promo code for the big discount is my last name, Plant. Yeah, they're bringing out all the guns, and they're all using weasel words, and they're redacting their own thoughts. Just like the Democrats redacted those 2 pages of emails out of 23,000 pages. What political parties do you think are found in the other 22,998 pages? I also have audio for you of an ABC News reporter lady, Amy Robach, who in 2019 had the Bill Clinton, Jeffrey Epstein story, and ABC News buried it, and she was accidentally caught on camera talking about it. Got that coming up. In the meantime, let's go to the telephones, Michael. Let's go to Dave, calling from Falls Church, Virginia. Dave, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Chris, thank you. How you doing? Thank you very much. It's Dave from Falls Church. Was a working colleague with your father-in-law, Bill, and CBS. The reason I want to talk about TDS and collective mental illness, as I talked with you before, when I was overseas in Bangkok and Southeast Asia working for CBS, BBC, and some others, this is 50 years ago when very few accredited journalists were allowed in Beijing at the time. And one of the fellows who signed on to bought the whole propaganda of the Communist Party of China, and it's relevant today what's going on here in the States, just bought their whole, the whole thing about communism, went to Beijing, and within a few weeks or few months, he had a complete mental breakdown because it wasn't what he thought it was going to be. And I don't know what you think or what some of the other listeners think, but we're just in such uncharted waters right now with so many liberals, so many media people who refuse to believe the truth. They're living in an alternate reality. And sooner or later, how's it all going to come crashing down on them? We don't know.
A very good question to raise, I've got to say, Dave. And you probably don't want to reveal the name of the journalist that you're talking about that went into Beijing being all in and then had a meltdown when he realized that communism was terrorism, huh?
No, right. I mentioned it in my book, and I can't recall the name right away, but I have left 1 or 2 books for you with Michael and Jasmine, so I don't know if you ever got around to it or it's still
very good, but very, very good. Well, this is great stuff, boy. This is great stuff. I'd love to talk to you about this stuff at length. Sounds like we have a lot to talk about, but it's true. What's going to happen to the Democrats' brains? Now, at the White House, the wonderful and excellent White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt was asked about the Democrat Party releasing 2 heavily redacted pages out of 23,000 pages that they think will incriminate Donald Trump and leave Bill Clinton and all of the other Democrats out of it. And Caroline Leavitt was asked, hey, what about the Democrats in the House released 2 heavily redacted pages out of 23,000 pages of Jeffrey Epstein documents, and they say that they incriminate President Trump.
These emails prove absolutely nothing other than the fact that President Trump did nothing wrong. And what President Trump has always said is that he was from Palm Beach, and so was Jeffrey Epstein. Jeffrey Epstein was a member at Mar-a-Lago until President Trump kicked him out because Jeffrey Epstein was a pedophile and he was a creep.
because Jeffrey Epstein was a pedophile and he was a creep. And you have to say that past tense because Jeffrey Epstein hanged himself. I'm making quotation marks with my fingers. Isn't that amazing? Man, oh man. President Donald Trump told Republicans in Congress to stay away from the House Democrats' push to force the full release of Jeffrey Epstein-related files after the November 12th release of 3 emails from the disgraced financier that mentioned the president's name. And that's as far as it goes down the Trump road. His name is mentioned in there. There should be no deflections to Epstein or anything else, and any Republicans involved should be focused only on opening up our country and fixing the massive damage caused by the Democrats, Trump wrote on a Truth Social post. President Trump in his post accused House Democrats of releasing emails, which they did, one in which Epstein alleges Trump, quote, knew about the girls, end quote. And that's it. And that's what the Democrats did. They redacted everything except 4 words in a row, knew about the girls, end quote. Because Democrats lost the fight over the nation's longest ever government shutdown, President Trump said. The Democrats are trying to bring up the Jeffrey Epstein hoax again because they'll do anything at all to deflect on how badly they've done on the shutdown and so many other subjects, President Trump wrote. Only a very bad or stupid Republican would fall into that trap. And journalists, too, for that matter, but every journalist in the country, minus about 12, have fallen into the Democrat Party trap because it's what they get out of bed to do every morning. Isn't that amazing? So we've got that going on. And again, it's kind of, it matters because it's about the double standards and the hypocrisy and the talking out of both sides of their mouths. But again, August 6th of 2025 in the New York Post, the headline is, "The Truth About Bill Clinton's Cozy Friendship with Jeffrey Epstein and His, quote, Lovely Girls, end quote, as House subpoenas testimony." Again, this is August, a few months ago. And when Bill Clinton looked out of the private plane window as it came in to land in Africa, he likely had no idea how much the 2002 trip would change his life. The tour was to launch his new nonprofit AIDS initiative, taking in 5 countries and even spending the day with former South African President Nelson Mandela, which everybody likes to do or liked to do, past tense. But those aspects of the trip have long since been forgotten as the ex-president, Kevin Spacey, who was disgraced now, he's a disgraced former movie star because he was sexually assaulting little boys all over the place, and actually Bill Clinton traveling with Kevin Spacey. Chris Tucker and others were flying as guests of Jeffrey Epstein aboard the infamous jet, later to be known as the Lolita Express. And when Bill Clinton was flying on it, it was known as Lolita 1. The devious Epstein, later exposed as a pedophile, had staffed the jet with young girls. One of the tactics he is said to have employed to impress and coerce powerful people. I felt Epstein put the president at risk with those young girls on board, said Kevin Spacey, who would prefer to have young boys on board. In an interview with Piers Morgan last year, it was disturbing. There were young girls on those flights. I didn't understand at the time who they were or why they were there. Well, you're not a very bright guy. You're an actor, after all. And here's a picture of Bill Clinton being massaged, sitting in a private airport terminal and being massaged by a young and attractive blonde woman while he's looking, well, not entirely relaxed, let's say. So isn't that amazing? Now, this is what news coverage looks like. It's the New York Post, not the New York Times or the Washington Post. And this reveals that Bill Clinton flew on Jeffrey Epstein's jet, and we're talking about Africa. These are big international trips, and all the young girls and the gay actor Kevin Spacey saying, hey, what are all these girls doing here? Where are all the young boys? And it turns out that Bill Clinton flew on Jeffrey Epstein's plane at least 17 times, And the American news media Well, they just don't care because they're not in the news business. They're in the Democrat business and the fluffer business. Epstein donated $1,000 to Bill Clinton's election campaign in 1992, gave his wife $20,000 for her U.S. Senate campaign in 1999. That's because he's a Democrat and a Democrat donor, and the Democrats were fine with all of this, and the Democrats flew on the plane. And Epstein also later visited Clinton at the Harlem office of the Clinton Foundation in 2022. The Africa trip was the second of Clinton's estimated 26 trips on Epstein's Lolita Express, two of which show that there is no record of Secret Service detail being on board. So they had to fly separately to Africa, even though they got this big private airplane that they could have flown on, but he didn't want them on the airplane with him. He just wanted Hollywood people. Isn't that amazing? Man, oh man. And also not having the Secret Service on board the plane breaches presidential protection protocol for the Secret Service. But it was Bill Clinton who said, no Secret Service on this trip because it's Jeffrey Epstein's plane, and they got the young girls. And you know how that goes. So just amazing, these people. Now, federal lawmakers are re-examining those trips and the former president's relationship with Jeffrey Epstein amid a widening probe, they love an ever-expanding probe, into the financier. The move comes after the Justice Department interviewed Ghislaine Maxwell, who's serving a 20-year prison sentence for recruiting underage girls for her and Epstein to abuse, and Bill Clinton, for that matter. She's said to have given her lawyers 100 names associated with Epstein, and none of them was Donald Trump. Otherwise, that would have been leaked long ago. But never mind that. So we've got that. And then, of course, there is the truth about Bill Clinton's cozy friendship with Jeffrey Epstein and the lovely girls. And this story reveals that Bill Clinton had Jeffrey Epstein over to his White House at least 17 times, and that Ghislaine Maxwell came along while Bill Clinton was living in the White House. Both Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell visited the White House 17 times during Bill Clinton's 2 terms in office, starting in 1993. 17 times there, 26 times on the plane, and the news media has no interest in any of this. Aren't they something? How many times? And they're just trying to nail, and again, the Democrats in the House, the Oversight Committee, they have access to 23,000 pages of documents. Those are called the Epstein documents. And they released 2 or 3 pages, very heavily redacted. And all they could come up with was fragments of sentences. They're not even fragmentary sentences because they're not complete sentences. They're just fragments that they redacted everything around them. And again, hey, where's all the Clinton donations and all this stuff? Isn't it amazing? And the lady who allegedly committed suicide, who is one of Jeffrey Epstein's abused young women, said that Donald Trump came over but had nothing to do with any of the girls. And that was not part of what the Democrats released because, they're criminals. Man, oh, man. Yes, sir. Let's go to number 5. Number 5. This is CNN again. And the anchor woman, Jessica Dean, who nobody's ever heard of. And Jessica Dean, CNN anchor, and she's talking about the what the Democrats are peddling as a big, and the news media, they're all over it too. They have all kinds of splashy headlines about the Democrats who are releasing the phony baloney fragments of emails that are designed to incriminate CNN.
We do want to be clear. The president, Trump, did not receive or send any of the messages, which largely predated his time as president. He's not been accused of any criminal wrongdoing in connection with Epstein or Maxwell.
Sure. And now let's go back to the panel where we can continue to smear and slander Donald Trump because it's what we do. Now let's go back to this story because this happened 6 years ago. It was 2019, and an ABC News reporter by the name of Amy Robach, who I remember the video when it came out in 2019. I believe we played it here on the radio then. Amy Robach was sitting at a location. She wasn't on TV. She was sitting there talking to someone who was off camera, and the camera just was on because she works in the TV business, so there are cameras and microphones around. And she's talking about stuff, but doesn't believe any of it's being recorded. And then long time later, the video was released, kind of like the Billy Bush video by NBC of President Trump talking to Billy Bush. But ABC News was given the story by Amy Robach about Bill Clinton and Jeffrey Epstein and Prince Shlomo and Jeffrey Epstein. And she explains, accidentally, not knowing that this is being recorded, that she brought the story to her bosses at ABC News and said, listen, I've got everything. I've got the documents. I got the dates. I've got my sources. This is a big story. And ABC News, George Stephanopoulos, who was, of course, a senior Clinton White House official in the midst of this, no, I don't think we're going to cover that story. That's not about a Republican or about Donald Trump. Amy Robach in 2019.
It was unbelievable what we had. Clinton, we had everything. I tried for 3 years to get it on, to no avail.
I tried for 3 years to get it on, to no avail. We had everything. We had Clinton. We had, and again, she's for 3 years. She had the story right here in a file folder. I've got the sources. I've got the women. I've got the quotes. I've got Clinton. I've got a member of the royal family. And ABC News for 3 years shot the story down and didn't let Amy Robach even go out and talk about it. And somebody surreptitiously recorded her talking about it on camera. It was later surreptitiously released. Amy Robach.
I've had the story for 3 years. I've had this interview with Virginia Roberts. We would not put it on the air. First of all, I was told, who's Jeffrey Epstein? No one knows who that is. This is a stupid story.
Yeah, this is a stupid story. Nobody knows who this is. Well, I guess now ABC News knows who it is, huh? Amy Robach.
Now it's all coming out, and it's like these new revelations, and I freaking had all of it. I'm so pissed right now. Like, every day I get more and more pissed because I'm just like, oh my God, what we had was unreal. Other women backing it up.
And ABC News didn't want it. Why is that? Well, because it's Bill Clinton, and they didn't want to anger the Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton circle fest, and then there's the British royal family. But Amy Robach accidentally revealing how corrupt ABC News is.
Brad Edwards, the attorney, 3 years ago, saying there will come a day when we will realize Jeffrey Epstein was the most prolific pedophile this country has ever known. And I had it all 3 years ago.
Had it all 3 years ago. What's the problem? And what did they do with it? They did nothing with it. That's what they did with it. Aren't they something? And now, look at them. And Amy Robach, I guess she's still employed by ABC News. I think she is a Good Morning America person. It's kind of funny they call it that, isn't it? Boy, these people. Yeah, but Amy Robach, somebody should grab Amy Robach and interview her now that the Democrats are trying to puff this up again. You know how they puff it up? Do you know what they do to puff it up? We'll talk about that later. Do you know that the big wireless companies, your cell phone carrier, has been pulling one over on you for a long, long time, and it's time to call them on it and make the switch to Consumer Cellular. Listen, I did, and I'm getting the same fast, reliable nationwide coverage that you get from all the big wireless people, the same towers, the same transmitters, the same networks and everything, but without the big wireless cost every month in your bill. It's not just about saving money on my bill every month, although that is very good. It's about not being used and abused by your own cell phone carrier. Do you have any idea how much data you use every month? Most people the age of 50 or more use less than 8 gigs of data every month. But Big Wireless wants to shove you into an unlimited plan and make you pay for it because they need to redistribute your wealth to cover the costs that are incurred by 18-year-olds using 10 times as much data as you use. And if you're not the one using all that data, then you are the one being used and abused. When you've had enough of that, make the switch to Consumer Cellular. They set me up with a service and an amazing phone. And it's really easy to make the switch. You call on the phone, talk to an actual human being, not a touchpad or a robot. That person is based right here in the United States of America, not on a space platform. Real human beings here in the United States that are actually helpful. and it only takes about 20 minutes to make the change. So give them a call today and make that switch. Call 800-760-0702. 800-760-0702. Yeah, the Democrats. Also, did you see this Katie Couric interview? Remember her? Katie Couric interview with Democrat Senator really trying to get Trump. It's just, well, wait a minute, I got one more get Trump question. That's coming up. And we are at 888-630-9625. Yeah, and the ABC lady, she had interviewed Virginia Giuffre by a different last name, but it's the same woman. And ABC News killed the story. And then Virginia Giuffre allegedly killed herself in Australia. Got to check and see if Hillary Clinton was around anywhere. Let's go to the telephones, Michael. Let's go to Tom, calling from the great city of Chicago, Illinois, listening on WLS. Tom, you are on the Chris Plant Show.
Hello, Chris. Lovely to talk to you.
Welcome. Thank you.
So, a lot of chit-chat about the Epstein thing, and I thought maybe I could put some perspective into this. A wise man once told me, understand the motivations, and there are no mysteries in human affairs. Mm-hmm. And there's two motivations that we need to understand behind this Epstein situation. One is that the Republicans said, we're going to release all this stuff, and then they didn't.
Yeah.
Number two is the Democrats pushing for the release because they know it's full of Democrats on that list.
Mm-hmm.
But there's probably also a lot of Republican congressmen, senators, things like that. And if there was something there hanging on Trump, that would be a bonus. So right now, the Democrats are very eager to purge themselves of all their old leadership. So publishing this would be great for them to advance that agenda.
Mm.
And, of course, they're always eager to purge our leadership. So that's a double bonus. And if there was something there to hang on Trump, wow, the fruit on the tree is plentiful.
Yeah.
So there's all these motivations for them to release it. And Republicans, knowing that there probably are senators and congressmen there, and we need them to push the Trump agenda forward, might be hesitant in releasing. And I thought maybe this perspective, and I was speculating, might be helpful to understand all this.
Well, I understand what you're saying, and everything is politics in this town, and with the Democrats and with the Republicans too. I want to see all the names of the creeps that participated in this. I don't care what their political party is, and the Democrats know that they're bulletproof.